Everyone, Joe Axman here. And you might have noticed that my name has changed on this channel from Joe Axman Macro Astrology to Joe Axman, the Mediocre Astrologer. And so I want to explain a little bit why I did the change. You might think it's a strange name, but that's okay for me because first of all, I need something. I mean, first of all, the macro astrology name is fine, but it's a little boring. I mean, it's a little standard fare. I like things to be exciting, spicy. I mean, I'm very Uranian. I have Uranus on the ascendant, so I like to stand out. I mean, who else is going to call themselves the mediocre astrologer? It's not exactly the thing that people will want to, naturally call themselves. So it does stand out. I think it kind of draws attracts attention. People will be like, well, why would he call himself that? The mediocre astrologer. Like, shouldn't he call himself like the great astrologer? Like, like a lot of people. But I find that so distasteful when people are like, I'm the best, this is the best, we're the best in the world, and all that, and like championing themselves. It's good to be confident. And I am confident. I'm very confident in a lot of my ideas. But at the same time, first of all, I have no need to be the best because I'm not doing astrology to be the best. I'm doing astrology because I love astrology. I'm doing astrology because this is what it's in my heart to do. I'm doing astrology and making videos because that's what my soul, my spirit decided that I wanted to do before I was born. This is my destiny. This is my karma. This is what I'm here to do. This is what I love. I mean, you all know I'm a Gemini sun and Venus, and Geminis are notorious for changing their mind, changing their direction, changing everything, right? Literally, we're butterflies. We're just fluttering around, being social, fluttering here, fluttering there, flapping our wings, just, not a care in the world. No commitments, no ties, no nothing, just free spirits roaming around, being Gemini. But then you might ask yourself, well, how does a Gemini ever stick to one thing, one relationship, one career, anything? Well, obviously there are other influences at work. They could have other fixed signs, or the way to keep a Gemini fixed into one place is if they actually love it, right? If they love it, then it's in their heart to pursue it. Then they will stick with it. That's the only way. Because I know that about myself, and I know that I love astrology and that I'm committed to astrology. Therefore, it doesn't matter if I'm the best or the worst, right? And I'm not gonna go like, I think it's extremely cheap and distasteful and stupid, and also highly subjective. Where people are like, I'm the best, like, yeah, very few people can get away with that. Like Muhammad Ali, most people can't. But he's also a fighter. It kind of fits the genre, right? If Muhammad Ali says I'm the best, and then he goes and punches somebody in the face, and that's what he does for a living. Cool. I guess that works. But in other fields where it's so subjective, and other people are like, I'm the best, it's so ugly to me. I just find that like the worst, right? When people like the best, that means you're the worst. And people do that. People I know do that. And generally it shows that it's the exact opposite. And I'm not saying that because I'm calling myself mediocre, that I'm the exact opposite of that. I'm not. In some ways I am mediocre, and in some ways I'm anything but mediocre. Because I'm very Uranian, so Uranus is not mediocre. But in other ways, I am mediocre because I'm not the best out there. There's certainly astrologers who've been doing this way longer than I have, decades longer, right? And I give respect to them, and I'm not going to say I'm better than them. Therefore, how could I be the best astrologer if I'm not better than the ones who've been doing it really long? And I do give credit to those who have time experience on me, especially. Doesn't mean I'll agree with them. Doesn't mean I'll say they're right in every case. Then I might, very firmly and confidently stand by my opinions against everyone. And in fact, I do, and that's one of my strengths. That's one of my confidences. That also shows that I'm confident enough to not need to say I'm the best, right? I don't need it to be the best. I do it because I love it. I do it whether I'm the worst or the best, but it's subjective anyway, right? So there's humor. There's humor to it when I say that call myself the mediocre astrologer. Just gonna try and get some focus a bit more. There we go. Yeah, and I just don't think anyone else is gonna do it. I don't think anyone else is gonna be like, oh, I wanted to call myself the mediocre astrologer, but he beat me to it. But also just in case, like, because I can be very aggressive at times, like with my speech. It's something I'm working on, but it is like an indulgence. Like it feels really good. Like, oh, I love candy. I'm gonna eat some candy. And it feels really good sometimes to be like really strong and aggressive for me with my speech and expression. But I also want to disarm other astrologers and just let them know that I'm not coming in with tons of ego. I'm not coming in like, oh, I'm better than you. I'm the best astrologer out there. Yeah, listen, I'm doing this because I love it. I don't need any competition. If other people want to be like, I'm the best astrologer out there, good for you, buddy. I'm not going to necessarily agree with you, but I'm not going to fight you on it. And in my mind, it'll probably not make you the best astrologer, but whatever, right? And if I can give permission to like any other person to just be, okay with being whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all subjective anyway. Then, great, because we should do things because we love them, right? And the only person we need to get better, the only person we need to compete with is ourselves, right? So I can constantly improve, and I'll always be mediocre because there will always be that much more that I need to learn about astrology, or that much more I can learn. So I'm never going to reach the end goal. I'm never going to reach the perfection, and nobody really does. All right, so that's kind of it. Like mediocre means middle, right? And in the middle, I have a lot of room to grow, right? I have a lot of room. And I also don't have the pressure of being the best. Like I slack on details and I forget things, and I'm a little bit lazy. Like I don't want to do all the work that other astrologers do in certain ways. I want to do what I would want to do. So it just frees me up, puts me right in the middle, just gives me tons of room to play and be carefree and just do what I do and be happy about it and not worry about anything else. Right. So if anyone wants to criticize me and say you're not the best astrologer out there, I agree. Are we done? I mean, okay, good. Let's move on. The other reason I changed my name is because timing. And I want to show you this. And this is a bit of astrological magic. If you don't realize that magic and astrology are tied together, you're wrong. They are. This is magic. This is astrology magic. All right. And just before I get into the astrology of this, I just want to say, somebody can do this if they have a really bad chart and their life is going really, really awful, and they're very, very stuck and suicidal. It is possible. I'm not recommending this because it could go bad. It is possible to find a chart that is very good on its own, but also complements the natal chart in a very good way, both synastry and composite, and do a renaming ceremony of that person, right? Where you have a bunch of people together, hopefully led by somebody who's very adept at astrology and or magic, and you do a ritual, a ceremony right at the time where you want the new chart, and you say, okay, this is a renaming ceremony, and you rename that person. Therefore, it's giving them an additional, it doesn't erase the natal chart, but it adds on to it, and it can help change that person's karma or destiny through astrology magic, right? So this was something like that. This was a renaming ceremony for myself, for my channel, to give my channel a different chart. I don't even know the chart, what it looked. I think I did save it at one point, but something just told me do this now. It was an intuitive thing, and I found the right time to do it, and I did it. It was this morning around 5:56 a.m. where you can see the sun just went into Leo, 0 degrees Leo, very powerful. And the ascendant just went into Leo, very powerful, right? So the ascendant for the mediocre astrologer is 0 degrees Leo, with the sun at 0 degrees Leo. So that's super duper powerful right there. 0 degrees Leo, Leo. Okay. The ascendant for the mediocre astrologer, ironically, is not at all mediocre, right? So I don't want to choose a mediocre chart. I want to choose an exceptional chart. But to keep the ego out of it, I'm branding myself mediocre. Right? And then we also have Mercury and Venus in Leo. First of all, Mercury and Venus together are great. Highly creative, really centralizes the expression. You get the voice and the expression and the intellect together. This is on the second house. Venus on the second house cusp is excellent for money. And Venus is stationary. This is super duper potent. Okay, like you want a stationary planet, especially a good one, in your chart if you're choosing a new chart. Especially, and also if it's conjunct another planet, that further enhances it. And also, it's done. The whole Leo sign is dignified by the sun in Leo at 0 degrees. This is extremely potent and powerful. Venus, Mercury, for what I do. It's in the second house, so it should make my voice really beautiful. We'll see if it does, but maybe my speech will somehow magically become much more appealing, beautiful. What I do is talk, so that's very much related to second house. Mars is here too in Virgo. It's totally fine. It is opposite Saturn. That's a bit aggressive, but that's okay. I mean, I'm naturally aggressive. Let's see. Venus is ruling the 4th and the 11th. 11th for career success, income, speech. 4th, being at home. I guess that makes sense. Any case, stationary Venus. And who else has stationary Venus? Just to give you an idea, Michelangelo has stationary Venus right on the IC, right? Therefore, sculpture and architecture and art in general. Amy Winehouse has Venus conjunct Mars, and Venus is stationary in it's either the 3rd or 4th house. I can't remember offhand. But that's why she's so passionate and beautiful and intense, right? Charlize Theron has Venus stationary right on the ascendant, and that's why she's so beautiful. So in any case, I have it in the 2nd house on my mediocre astrology chart. Moon is in Libra, and it's sextile the sun in the ascendant, so that's really good. That shows that there's no natural conflict between how I relate to the world, my ascendant sun and moon. You know, there can be conflict, obviously, internal conflict. You know, what makes somebody happy might not be the thing that they're most naturally inclined to do in the world, right? And there's a conflict there. Sun is opposite Pluto, and that actually is good for astrology because Pluto is very psychological, and it naturally lends itself to astrology. Pluto is one of the main planets for astrology. Pluto and Uranus, and Pluto being, I guess you could say it's in the 6th, but it's barely. I mean, it's virtually conjunct the ascendant, descendant. Therefore, and it's opposite the sun. So there's very a strong relationship influence coming together here, whereby, you know, if I'm astrologizing with other people. That works with whether it's in this video, you know, because somebody has to listen to it. Nobody can listen to it, that's possible, but generally I see that some people are watching my videos, so that does invoke that opposition. Oppositions in general are Libran, evokes the Libran archetype, but also when I do readings or when I read other people's charts, that's very much at play here. As long as Pluto is satisfied, it's good, right? If I wasn't doing any of that, I was just keeping to myself and, like, you know, that would be difficult. Then I would attract very Plutonic relationships. But as long as I fulfill the Pluto requirements within the realm of the mediocre astrologer, that's not harmful, right? Now we'll see. I could be wrong, but it seems pretty good. I mean, Sun is in very, very strong dignity, so I don't think it's going to be harmed. But Pluto is very powerful. So in any case, Mars is opposite Saturn. I did say that, and that's okay. Oppositions can be very dangerous. So can squares, but you have to look at the planets and signs involved. This seems okay. Neither is in poor dignity. Saturn's not, in poor dignity in Virgo, and Mars not in poor dignity in Libra. They're both neutral, right? So this is just kind of like a somewhat aggressive opposition, but that's okay. The other really neat thing is that I have Chiron stationary. So there's two planets stationary. That's extremely potent, strong. Chiron conjunct the MC can give me a very unusual sort of public image. But it's stationary, so it's not a bad one. It's a powerful one. And it's a potent one. And you could say that's related to me calling myself the mediocre astrologer, because Chiron is so out of the box. It's so like mythical. You see it in like very strange movies, like I'm drawing a blank on this guy who's a movie producer, director, writer. But in any case, like superheroes, mythical, like weird, like very creative things that don't exist in nature are found with Chiron, right? Things that are just like strange that you'll never find naturally. So it's sort of like a mythical beast, kind of, and superheroes do fall into the Chiron category as well, especially in Aries. So, and then North Node is in Aries at the 29th degree, but in the 10th house. So North Node in Aries in the 10th is extremely obsessed with the public eye, the public career, public image, right? So that works excellent for my video channel, astrology, for getting out in the public, for pushing myself into the public eye. Jupiter is also in the 10th in Taurus, along with Uranus. Well, Uranus is on the 11th cusp, right? But that's okay. Jupiter in Taurus also is excellent for teaching, because Jupiter is the natural teacher. Taurus likes to break down things into its most simplistic terms. So Jupiter and Taurus can really teach things to everyone, even to a child, because it explains things in a very simple way, in a way that everyone can sort of take in and make sense of, right? So that's also quite good. And Jupiter brings success wherever it is. So in the 10th, career success. Uranus in the 11th, even though it's in Taurus, it's still good, natural, in the 11th house, good for the internet, good for astrology, good for career success, right? Let's see. There's a square to Mercury, and that is both difficult and brilliant at the same time. I mean, that's not a personal comment, that's just a comment about this chart. When Mercury and Uranus are aspecting each other, then the mind really is like active, becomes very active, as in like a brilliant kind of idea, like lots of brilliant ideas come to the mind. But the square will make it more a lot more tense. So like it's like hard work, effort. Yeah, there will be some of that. Also, you'll notice that Pluto square the nodes along with the sun. So there's this grand cardinal T square with sun in Leo. So there's fixed side, but 29, 29, 29, and then 0, 0. So that is interesting, and that just emphasizes this axis, the Sun Pluto axis, which is very astrological. I mean, it could be other things, but for me, it's definitely going to play into astrology. Venus, a very potent Venus, stationary Venus, is in conjunct Pluto. But again, Pluto being astrological, if not for the astrology, this could be worrying. If this was somebody's natal chart, right? Venus would be 4th house, so that could be abusive, right? Childhood, upbringing by the father, possibly, right? Or 11th house, group, network, career success, popularity. There could be some issues with, you know, very destructive groups, something like that. Any case, and finances, right? 11th in the second is tying in the finance houses, but this speaks very well for finances for me, I believe. Venus is also in great aspect to the nodes, sextile and trine. Mercury trine Chiron in the MC. Mars is not really aspecting the MC, but that's okay because a stationary Chiron and North Node and Jupiter are activating the MC in 10 times. Right. Neptune is in Pisces along with Saturn in Pisces, and that's going to benefit this Saturn. It's going to help it generally. Saturn in the 8th in Pisces actually will be excellent for astrology because Saturn, not at first, like not if this was a novice, but for somebody who's been doing it for a while, Saturn can be an asset because it represents mastery, authority, endurance, longevity. And Pisces also being a water sign very much lends itself to astrology as well. So I think this is a good thing, the Saturn and Pisces. Yeah, see here we see Venus station and Saturn is retro. If that's relating to astrology, that's going to do things in a backwards way. Pluto's retro as well. Neptune's retro. And Chiron is perfectly stationed. Excuse me. Overall, really strong chart, I believe. And then also I wanted to compare it to my natal chart. And as you can see, the sun and the ascendant are lining up with my Saturn. And the reason I like this is because this Saturn is such a pain in the butt for me. Because it's in poor dignity and it's conjuncting my ascendant lord. So this is, if you understand, I'm represented by Mars. Mars is the soldier, and Mars here is conjunct the MC. And so Mars is in pretty good dignity, right? Especially because North Node is in Scorpio, and Mars is aspecting the North Node, dignifying it. So this Mars is really strong. It's my ascendant lord, dispositing my North Node and Uranus. Uranus being a significator of astrology, but it's overshadowed or kind of smothered by this Saturn, which isn't terrible because Mars is exalted in the sign of Saturn, Capricorn, but Saturn, which is not me, is an older authority. And so I'm always plagued by some older authority kind of ruling over me, where I am, where I'm represented by Leo conjunct the MC. So it's like, naturally, I feel like I'm in a very strong position, but then I have this poor dignity, older person ruling over me, and it's very uncomfortable, right? Because I feel like people who are inferior than me, because Saturn is actually stronger, or Mars is stronger than Saturn here, people who are less capable of me than me, who are in a superior position ruling over me. And so it's very, very frustrating. It's an extreme limitation for myself. But with Sun in Leo and Ascendant in Leo, Sun being domiciled in Leo, this kind of dignifies this Saturn. So at least if I have to deal with this Saturn, I want more of a dignity here, and I want to dignify this Saturn a lot more, and I'm doing that by dignified Sun, right? So that's primary. Mercury, Venus in the 10th house, in my 10th house. Mars and Virgo in my 11th, these are all good. You know, moon in Libra conjuncting the 12th. I mean, that's all fine. Uranus is conjuncting my natal Mercury, and that's also right, that brilliance. Jupiter conjuncting my south node, that's excellent for teaching, for expressing my wisdom, whatever wisdom I have, right? Or just, you know, sharing my knowledge, let's put it that way. I don't have any Aries planets, so that's quite good. And just the rest, you know, is just what I said, basically. North node in Aries in the 6th, but it's the MC. 6th house daily work. You know, if this could be a daily regular thing, that would be great. You know, that's 6th house. All right, but that oh yeah. So then I also compare it to my secondary progressions because I noticed some similarities there. My secondary progressed sun recently just went into Leo. So now we have this really strong emphasis on 0 degrees Leo with natal Saturn, the mediocre astrologer, ascendant and sun, and then progressed sun. So this Saturn should be very strongly dignified by the addition of Leo's sun twice, and I need that for my career success because this Saturn is inhibiting me, both in the real world, you know, like I don't mean the real world, but like out in my like day job because I have to have a day job to make money. I need that as well as it just in general to get the Saturn off my back because it's not a strong Saturn. It's tyrannical Saturn that's not very competent. But you can see all this emphasis on Leo in 10th house, my progressed, my mediocre astrologer. And then what else is interesting is that Mars is in Virgo in both the mediocre astrologer and the progressed chart. Mars is my ascendant lord. And that's really fascinating as well, considering that these days I am very physically active and I actually joined a gym, which is very much 11th house. You know, gym being communal, and so 11th house and gyms are, you know, the gym is an 11th house thing, especially in Virgo, especially with Mars in Virgo in the 11th house. It's very fits that theme well because Virgo is very healthy, Mars is very physical, right? Moon in Virgo too, just to be satisfied. I like being part of a community type thing, even if I'm not very social. I go there, I don't talk to a single person. I do not hit on a single girl. I do not like chat it up with any of the bros. You know, I'm just there. I mind my own business, keep my mouth shut. Don't talk to anyone, but I like it. I like all the people in that environment. So that's how these two things can, you know, somebody who's antisocial or asocial, I should say, can still be a part of a community. It's just not a social community. In any case, what else? You know, my progressed ascendant conjunct Neptune, this is kind of off topic, but ascendant conjunct Neptune, that actually really helps for video because of the pretense, the acting. Not that I'm much of an actor, but there is always that. You know, it lends itself to that when you're in front of a camera. In any case, my progressed Jupiter is at 26 degrees Taurus, right over my Mercury, and Uranus is lining up with that too, so that seems quite good. You know, you get the intellect and the wisdom and the expansion of speech, really going to expand and excite the expression here. Big bold expression, right? Moon in the 8th. It's okay for me because I'm used to it. Sun and Venus, so my progressed moon is in Gemini in the 8th. That's probably good for astrology. Okay. And then one last thing. You can make a composite of, if you want to do this, if you want to have a renaming ceremony either for yourself as a whole, which I wouldn't recommend anyone unless they were like, you know, going to kill themselves, like unless their life was really, really, really falling to pieces and you have nothing to lose. Like it's either like commit suicide or try this last ditch effort renaming ceremony where a person actually renames themselves, but they pick the perfect time. or they just really want to rename themselves. You might as well pick the perfect time anyway. If you're going to change your name, pick a good time, right? But you know, but if it's like this, a YouTube channel or something else where you're just picking a right time to start something, start a business, whatever, you can do a composite, right? So here's my composite, and this is really interesting too. We see the ascendant, the moon is in Virgo, the ascendant's in Virgo, so this Virgo 11th house theme is playing out very strongly for me. Mars in Leo, that's my natal Mars. Uranus is conjunct the MC in Leo and South Node, so that's very, very strong, prominent. And if you go here, Uranus is stationary in Leo in the composite of my natal chart and the Mediocre Astrologer. Right conjunct the MC. Uranus is the significator of astrology. It's stationary, conjunct the MC. It shows career in astrology, along with South Node. Extremely powerful. And then North Node in Aquarius, conjunct Neptune, right? In the fourth. So that, I mean, so the fourth would not be the public eye, but it would be at home. Aquarius is also lends itself to astrology. Neptune is very for in terms of astrology is very predictive, right? It's North Node exactly conjunct Neptune, very close to the IC. So this is being, you know, very like spiritual, astrological, high-minded, intuitive, psychic at home. Right. Jupiter, the composite chart, Jupiter still in Taurus, along with Saturn. And that even lends more authority. Jupiter and Saturn together, we know of as when they come together as a great conjunction. So if Jupiter and Saturn are together, that shows a lot of authority, a lot of teaching ability, a lot of leadership, right, in that area. So this is for my 7th house, right? It's in Taurus. Taurus is not specifically astrologically related, but like I said, it does understand things in a very simple terms and it can explain it to everyone. That's one of the things that I've been told about myself is that I can explain things quite well, quite easily, quite simply, right? And then the MC is in my 8th house, right in between my Venus and Sun, conjunct my progressed moon and, you know, in Gemini. So that's excellent for astrology as well. The composite does have Sun, Mercury, Venus in Cancer, and that's okay as well. Cancer, I mean, Cancer does also lend itself to astrology primarily because it's a water sign, but and trine Scorpio, therefore. But Venus conjunct Mercury is really nice. It's a wide conjunction, but it's still there. And it's for our artistic creativity, that's very nice. Cancer is very heartfelt, right? Brings a lot of heart and within that creativity. But also for Gemini, it fills a 2nd house need of expression, right? It's that flow that you want. So I need a little bit of Cancer in order to help Gemini, my Gemini Sun and Venus express itself, and Gemini Moon, MC, all that, right? So yeah, that's how I see all this. It gets pretty complicated, but when you take it one by one, it's going to be a lot easier to understand. Composite Pluto is creeping up on the ascendant from the 12th, so that's interesting, along with Neptune there. Again, Pluto for astrology is excellent. It gives really deep, penetrating insight. So anyway, guys, I'm about to make another video. This one will be on the astrology of writing, but I'm going to keep that separate. I'm going to make this its own video. This was solely about why I changed my name to the Mediocre Astrologer, Joe Waxman, the Mediocre Astrologer. So just being honest, just being straight, no pretenses and all that. So anyway, I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, bye.